Hi everybody, welcome to this week's video for Shabbat. Hope you had a good week. Today I wanted to discuss with you, to talk to you about, when you're in school, in high school or secondary school in England, you have tutor lesson, or it's like a class, we used to call it humanities, or a community lesson, which was like a lesson with a form tutor, and she would just raise an issue, a subject, and we would talk about it and discuss it. And there was no right or wrong answers, but it was creating critical thinking. And I think it's very, very important. I'm not sure how common it is in today's schools, in the UK at least, but I think it was one of my favorites. And one of the things we used to discuss, for example, was what is worse, being a drug dealer. We're talking about heroin, crack, and stuff like that. Being a drug dealer or being a drug user, and what are the reasons? And we each had our own opinions, and it was always creating an interesting argument in the classroom. And one of the things we've done during those lessons was we were watching the movie The Wave. In Hebrew it's called Anarchy. It's not, I know there's a few movies called The Wave, so this one is been created in 1981. And The Wave movie was based on a true story, which in 1967, a history teacher in high school in California, a very laid-back, much loved teacher called Jones, I don't remember his first name, maybe Paul Jones. Anyway, he conducted an experiment with the students in the class after he tried to teach them about Nazi Germany, and they said, how was it possible that so many people were brainwashed into doing such horrible things? How is it possible that people became fascists? And he decided to conduct this experiment, but what he didn't see coming is how it went, how quickly he managed to do it, first of all, how it got out of hand very quickly, and how the most committed ones to the cause were very much like today, the ones from the outskirts that suddenly found themselves a sense of community and belonging. So there's a gentleman called Mark Hancock. Mark Hancock was a student in that classroom, and he said that when it started, they were all very curious about where it's going to go, because it started like the teacher prepared the class in advance. He put all the tables in a straight line. He told the children when they come in, they need to greet him in a certain way, stand in a certain way, behave in a certain way. And it started with slogans like strength through discipline, strength through community, strength through action. And it was all very, very formed and very, very clear. It was very clean. It's like, when things are fanatic, when there is a lot of discipline, there is no space for creativity, for question marks, for asking anything. It's all very clear. It's all created for you, and all you have to do is follow. And I think there is what is happening in the world today with people following a trend and following a very dangerous example of people who who sold themselves as freedom fighters and now show their true face, and people still continue to follow them. I think this is very much what happened in that experiment, because to start with, he started as telling them, if you're gonna, I'm conducting an experiment, and the ones who are gonna get the best grades, or the ones who are gonna do well are gonna get the best grades, you're gonna get a really high score. So he got them involved through excitement about getting good grades for his lesson. And so I don't know, if you follow my Instagram, you'll see that one of the first posts that I shared after 7th of October was to watch this movie. Because I know that so many lovely people and so many kind-hearted people and empathetic people are following the trend, which is the complete opposite of what they stand for and what they believe in. But because they've been drawn into this narrative in false pretense, because it started as a pretense freedom fighting movement, and then the Hamas, or the Palestinian narrative, which is very genocidal, started behaving like its true self, but it's got those slogans and all the markings of making of fascism and Nazism and following a very, very dangerous trend. So what he did in that classroom, I invite you all to watch that movie. It's 1981. In Hebrew, it's called Anarchy. In English, it's called The Wave, but I know there's a few waves movies. This one, the experiment itself was called the third wave. And he told the students when he started that he's conducting an experiment, and he called that group like the third wave movement. And he told them, he basically got them sucked into the excitement of participating in something that made them feel unique, that made them feel that they are part of something special. And slowly, well, it wasn't that slowly, because within 5 days, he managed to gather 200 followers to a very dangerous belief and behavior, because they started being violent and aggressive towards people who didn't think like them. They had the slogans, they had the black armband, very much like the SS. They had very clear markings of being a fascist Nazi movement, but many of them didn't pick up on it, and those who did were bullied by their peers, who told them, you're not part of us, you're a traitor, or others even got to violence. And friends who were together from young childhood found themselves in really bitter fights because of that. Some of them were aware of what's going on, and other ones were just following. And the most committed members who were following, many people today say about Queers for Palestine is like chickens for Kentucky. And what I try and tell people, the reason that they are the most committed is because they're the ones who had the less sense of community, of belonging. And it was the same in this experiment. The ones who were the ones, after he came clean, and after he told them, after 5 days, he took them all into the auditorium, and he said, I'm going to show you a movie, screen a movie. And he took the three with him, were the three skepticals that argued what he was doing. So he took them with him, and he actually had to protect them from the rest. But then he put on the TV something that was very static and noisy, and people started feeling uncomfortable. And then at the end, Adolf Hitler's image came in front of them, and he told them, this is your leader. In all honesty, this is the man you're following. So they were shocked and they were surprised. But the ones that really hated the fact that this bubble burst in their face, or were the ones who were the most committed. And the ones who were the most committed were the ones who didn't have a community, who didn't have a sense of belonging before. So the more you're in the fringes, the more the people are less part of a community and feel more alone, left out, strange, unaccepted. They're the ones who's going to be the most committed to the cause, and the ones who will be the most likely to follow despite it being wrong, because they found something they didn't have before. They found a community, they found a sense of family, of something that they were anxious to have, that they were so looking to having that hole filled in their lives, that void, So these are actually the most committed members, and this is why it's so baffling to people. How can somebody who would most likely be murdered in Gaza for their queerness, they are the most devoted members of those groups? And it's not only them, it's people from the fringes, people who find that they have no base, that they have no stability. They find stability in the fanaticism of the movement, in the fanaticism of following something that is so clear and unquestionable. And another thing that I wanted to say about it, wow, I'm finding it very difficult to concentrate today for some reason. It's a beautiful sunny day outside, and I don't know, it's the first day after winter. I'm feeling a bit vague. So the other thing that I wanted to say about it was that when people find out that they are following something that is wrong, if the person who you are following is doubting themselves, then your following is sort of crumbling. But when people are very clear and very proud of what they're doing and very adamant that their way is the only way, you tend to follow them blindly, which is another thing that's happening now with Hamas and with the terrorists and Hezbollah and Islamic Jihad and the Iranian regime terrorists. There's a lot of them who their message is, we're right in what we're doing. And it doesn't matter how wrong it is and how evil it is and how inhumane everything that they stand for and genocidal and what they actually performed. They film themselves with the GoPros and they say, we did it and we are proud and we know what we're doing. So those who are following them, they follow this sense of it's like the more they are confident, that they follow this confidence that they gain from those who they follow. And it doesn't matter that the confidence is of people who are completely rotten in their minds and their hearts and their ideas and their narratives and their messages and how they want to go about what they want to do, and whether anything that they say is true or anything that they say is justified or anything of the sort. It's only because they're owning up to their shit, which is something that I say is very important when we are going through growing inside internally. When we grow as people, we learn to accept our faults and our things that are weaknesses, and instead of apologizing for them, we just say, you know, this is me. We obviously try the best way to growth is to become the best you can for yourself. But if you know that you have certain weaknesses, you don't go and apologize. You say, you know, yeah, I'm aware, and you know, it is what it is, and it's fine. This is who I am. But if you're apologetic, it crumbles down your confidence, and then people are less likely to follow you. So those people that many people around the world are following blindly now, and go to the street and chant and scream and hold signs and follow blindly, are people who own up to their shit, and their shit is a very, very dark one. Because already, I think it was in the Netherlands, somebody was murdered yesterday. Just a man who walked down the street because some Moroccan who came to the country was very encouraged and excited about the message that he received from what happened on the 7th of October, and he just wanted to be part of that. This is how bad it goes, like rolls like a snowball. It's very difficult to stop it. That teacher found it very difficult to stop it because a lot of the students were really disappointed when they found out what happened. And not only the fact that they were easily manipulated, but the fact that they had to stop. Many of them were disappointed because they really liked the sense of community, the sense of belonging, the discipline. And so it's very, you know, it's very unlikely for Nazism to happen in a country like Israel. Why? Because so many Israelis have their own opinions, and so many and Israel is literally the freest country I know. Because here in England, I'm as you can see, if you know me a bit from my videos, a very opinionated person. So when I was a mother in primary school, my children were in primary school, I was encouraged to become part of the PA, and the PA is the Parents Association. Very quickly, I found out that what it meant was becoming a yes man. They didn't like being challenged. They didn't like anyone telling them anything different to what they all agreed on. And I thought it was pretty pointless me being there, because that school was one of the only schools in London that had no uniform. And I loved it because it was, you know, a bit of the colorfulness. There was people there were refugees and asylum seekers. There were like 33 languages in a classroom. Imagine that, like 35 students, 33 languages or whatever. So 27 languages in a class of 30. So people learned English, learned the culture, learned to become part of a group, but everybody brought their color, brought their identity, brought their individuality, their speciality, who they are. And then the head teacher was replaced, and the new head teacher brought on uniform. And I was really, really against it. And I thought, okay, so I prepared a flyer that I did like a PowerPoint thing, and I started handing out before they had a vote to parents in the playground or before we went home. Tell them that our uniqueness is in our colorfulness, in how everybody brings on their own unique individuality and how they shine and how they, you know, don't lose it to uniform. And then I was approached by the deputy head, and she told me I'm not allowed to do that. And I asked her, why not? This is a vote. I'm allowed to try and persuade people to go my way. But they weren't having it. So I can tell you that in Israel, there's no such thing. In Israel, freedom is freedom. You are free. Discipline in Israel is self-discipline. People achieve things because of self-discipline, because the schools, unless you get to the army, in the army it's a very different structure, and everybody knows that it's a temporary thing that we have to go to, and because we have to protect ourselves, there's no space there for individuality as such, and you can't be a free person when you're a soldier, which is one of the reasons I really hated being a soldier in the army. But it's unlikely that something like fascism or Nazism will happen in Israel, because people are not disciplined. No one's going to tell me what to do. And this is the attitude of everyone in Israel, most people. So when people today follow, and people follow in England and in America, and the reason that in England it's so rife, the anti-Semitism and the hatred against Jews, is because the discipline in England is very strong. By the way, that's one of the reasons that one of the recent researchers on world emotional health brought England as a very in a very bad place, because the emotional health of people in the UK is not good at all, of youth and children in the UK. And discipline is not, in my opinion, leading into any benefits in that respect. And I think, I think freedom brings better results, and it doesn't mean anarchy. What happens at the moment in the world is anarchy. It's not freedom. All those people who walk with swastikas and walk with genocidal slogans and call for violence against Jews and against Israel, and all the hatred in those marches, that they write peace. I saw like a woman wearing a flag of Palestine with the word peace on it, and it couldn't be more contradicting. Couldn't, literally, because people sell themselves the narrative that they want to believe in, but this is not what they're really following. What they really are following is a very dangerous genocidal organization and narrative. So be aware of what you follow, and dig deeper. Don't just take what's being sold to you in a glamorous wrapping to be something good. Always question things. And I taught my children to question things. So I get into arguments with my children about things because I taught them to stand up for who they are and dig deeper, and don't take anyone's word for what it is. And that included me. So I sort of shot myself in the foot. They don't take my word for it. They would do their own research and their own investigation towards things in order to form an opinion. And I call all of you to do the same. Don't form your opinion on following anyone in the world. Have your own critical thinking. Do your own research. Do your own learning. Do your own reading. And when something doesn't feel right in your gut feeling, then it's not right. Because the web is full of false narratives and lies about Israel. I can tell you that. If you see people like Douglas Murray, who recently received an award, a very well-deserved award from the President of Israel for his commitment and genuine friendship to the Jewish people, is that he says, the amount of lies that need to be disputed about Israel and the Jewish people is like, you can't, you can't stop it. It's crazy amount of lies are spread. So even if you go online and you go to Wikipedia, I can tell you that even in Wikipedia you can find things which are not accurate, and there's a lot of things out there which are not the truth. I know it's hard, I know it's confusing, but the truth is out there, and your gut feeling, unless you've been brainwashed, should point you in the right direction. And also these children who have been brainwashed in that experiment of the wave, many of them had a gut feeling that something's wrong. Their parents had a gut feeling that something's wrong, and they raised that issue. Whether they were popular or not, it's another story. But something in their gut feeling told them this is wrong, and they questioned it. So question it. Don't follow wrong narratives. Don't follow wrong messages. And just be a good person. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you find the Wave experiment movie and watch it with your children. I think it is incredibly insightful and very important to read about and to watch. And until next week, have a lovely Shabbat.